When Pokemon Stadium first came out, I was like 10 or 11 years old, and I went to the mall with my dad to go pick it up. And I remember seeing that game for like $60 on the N64, and I thought that was insane. It's crazy to think that that was like 25 years ago, and the price of games hasn't increased since then very much, which is what makes the beginning of this year so interesting to me. We're only halfway through February, and the biggest titles in the news right now are between 25 and 40 bucks. Games like Enshrouded and Pow World and Helldivers, they're what people are playing right now. And some smaller development studios have noticed this trend too. Former BioWare development lead Aaron Flynn, who's the CEO of Inflection Games, says his new survival game Nightingale is only $30 because there's only so many dollars to go around in a very competitive genre. So I wonder if there's going to be a shift away from bigger titles, or if we're just kind of in a lull between big exclusives or big franchise titles that haven't been released yet. Sony recently released a press statement saying that they're not going to release any new major existing PlayStation franchise titles before April of 25. That doesn't mean they're not going to have expensive games or standard price point games, but it's looking more and more like this year's going to be smaller studio, indie development type titles, and fewer of the big, huge franchise titles that we're used to seeing. I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing that some games are expensive, and it's super important that certain studios are rewarded for working super hard and releasing a finished product. One game that comes to mind when I think about that criteria is Elden Ring. I think most people that played through that game have no problem with its price tag, and it could have been $70, $75, and that wouldn't have been a problem because it was such an incredible adventure, and the game was so polished, and it just did everything that you want it to do. But in contrast to that experience, we have titles like Skull and Bones coming out from Ubisoft that don't quite look like they're worth that money. And it's kind of a joke how out of touch these executives are, that they can't recognize a bad product and they think that their consumers are idiots. One executive even went so far as to call the budget and the quality of Skull and Bones a quadruple A, which when you look at the actual product that's out right now and how bad it is, that's just insane. We still have a whole lot of 2024 remaining, so I'm excited to see if this trend continues with lower priced games, because that competition is great for the market, and for the most part, the ones that have delivered have been amazing.